Welcome, Knights of the Square Tablet. We have a special guest here because always the most exciting episodes for us are when we have indie medieval game developers on with us. So today we have David with Bladesong joining us. Thank you for joining, David. What's going on, my dude?
Hey, Strider. Thank you so much for inviting me here today.
No. So I found you guys on TikTok randomly.
hmm
Super indie game at the moment, Bladesong. So tell us what you're all about because I know if it caught my eye, my audience is going to be interested in it too.
Right. Okay. So Bladesong is, I like to call it a sword making game. I do not call it a blacksmithing game usually because there's a bunch of blacksmithing games out there, right? And they very they simulate the process in a very detailed manner, right? Heat up the forge, take the hammer, hammer on your sword, and then usually a predefined thing comes out more or less. Customization is usually not the most important thing in these games, and that's what Bladesong is trying to change. We're trying to make a sword making game that is all about creativity, all about making the swords that you want to make in that game. So we're going all in on that. Besides that, Bladesong is also a, let's say, shop management narrative RPG. So you make swords for your customers, you get customer commissions, they require a certain kind of sword. Some focus more on functionality, some focus more on style. So there's like a physical analysis layer going on in the background. We've done a pretty crazy deep dive on how sword physics actually work in real life. Try to break that down into digestible format for a game. So yeah, you make swords for your customers. You play through a TTRPG like narrative, I want to say. So Dungeons and Dragons fans are going to feel right at home in the kind of story we're telling there. But yeah, it's not. It is unlike other games that you frequently play on your channel. It's like it's not a fighting game. It's not a chivalry mortal. It's not half sword. It's yeah, it's focused on making these things, not on fighting with them.
Now, I've used this example a few times, but when I try to explain this game to people, I've kind of always told people it's like doing Photoshop or Illustrator a little bit, except you're making only swords.
Yeah.
Would that be a good description?
Well, only swords. Yeah. Some people would like to. Some people would beg to differ. But yeah, people have called it Blender for swords, medieval AutoCAD, like a bunch of 3D modeling associations have been made for sure. And yeah, we're trying to keep it, fun. The whole process,
Yeah.
not make it too technical, not overload it with too many features that would drive you towards precision sword making, because precision is not really what it's about, I guess. Like
Hmm.
people often ask, can we insert numbers? I want these numbers to be perfect. And I kind of, so far we haven't added that, and I kind of feel like, why? Because medieval blacksmiths, these things were far from perfect, and that's what made them so interesting to look at in my book. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I found the game very kind of therapeutic to just kind of play. It's got the chill background music, and you just
hmm
put something on the other monitor and design swords. Uh, but you mentioned some stuff about like getting the proper balances and the historical aspects. Are you like a sword historian guy? What's your background?
well, by now maybe. I wasn't when we started this. Um, I'm just a regular guy. I like to play fantasy RPGs. I've grown up on them, played them all my life, and yeah, fun little background story to tell. There's this sword you see behind me on the wall. A couple years back, before I started Bladesong, I was meeting with a friend, and he opened the trunk of his car, and there was a sword inside randomly. Well, I'm like, "Oh, sword? Why do you have a sword?" Yeah, man,
Why
I'm
not,
taking.
right?
No, I'm taking it to the trash people. Tried putting it up on eBay, but it keeps getting delisted. So yeah, I'm throwing it out. Like, no, you're not. Gimme. So I took this thing home. It's not like anything precious. It is to me, I know, but to everybody else, it's not a special thing. But yeah, kind of in that moment when I grabbed that sword, I realized that I think the last time I held a sword was at a kid at some kind of medieval Ren fair type thing. Um, And I've played these games all my life, and I've never gotten really close to a sword. So the first thing I did was just inspect all the fittings and the tiny details on this thing, and like look at it from angles that I, in that moment, realized, well, I've never seen this thing that up close, which is a shame because, well, I've been swinging them virtually for 25 years at that point. So I went online and wanted to find that game that would allow me to make swords. You know, I've been a game developer back then, so I've done my fair share of 3D modeling hobbyist, but I'm not an artist per se. So I wanted something that is streamlined and easy and lets me, configure swords just to creatively explore the bandwidth of things that are possible. And it didn't exist, so so that was a bit of a shock. And yeah, then from there, few years fast forward, and I decided to make that thing myself, which which came with, first of all, understanding what swords are all about. Not only well, physically, how do they work? What is the difference between swords type A, B, C? Trying to understand at least a little bit of sword typology, which has become a meme on our server, that it's just a nightmare. Like you, typology is a nightmare. Um, but yeah,
Well,
then just
I know from even my YouTube videos, if you like moderately classify a sword wrong, there will be historians in the chat shaming you. So
yeah, I mean this, like, I guess historians agree there is not really a right way to classify things because everything is fluid, and there is not really a proper way to classify things without it at least being challengeable, let's say.
yeah. So you got the idea from your friend's trunk, decided you're making your own video game. Are you working on this thing solo? Because from what I see, every playtest you guys put a lot of work in,
Oh
or
yeah.
or there's a lot of new stuff, or you have a team going now.
Yeah, I have a small tag team assembled around me. So back when I started, either I just started working at Moon Studios, or I was still working my previous job, which was in automotive IT, basically making effectively 3D modeling software for cars, which was, came in kind of handy. I never cared much about cars, but that experience did come in handy then. Um, so yeah, I dropped that. I started working at Moon Studios on No Rest for the Wicked, their action RPG, which was a great
Okay, yeah,
great
I'm
experience.
familiar with it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, did you play it?
I did not play it. I did see the trailers and stuff though. It was
Yes.
something I was thinking about getting for my Steam Deck, but never quite pulled the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they get their multiplayer working and release that, I think it's gonna be pretty cool game. And yeah, it was a fantastic experience. So I started working on Bladesong, prototyping first things when I was still working there. Must have been in 2022, I think, and then slowly moved towards actually, you know, properly founding a studio. I've never done anything like that before, so it's some crazy people found a company every year. I don't. It was challenging, getting all the tax shit and all the organizational heaps of fucking paper out of the way. I got some initial funding from like a government grant type of thing. That was hugely helpful from a group called Nord Media. Fantastic people. So I managed to assemble some people around me. First of all, starting out with some friends who just helped out in their free time. But by now, I was able to hire my brother, who's been my brother, my lifelong
Who also has an interest in swords, apparently.
yeah, my
Runs
lifelong
in the family.
supporter in everything. No, I mean we grew up together playing games, so that helps tremendously. He's helping a lot on the game design side right now, and also on handling all the social content. So I was able to hire him full time, and then we have a writer in the UK who takes care of all the story things. We hired one of the community people. Rizuru is a he coined the term Rizuru magic, which is a certain kind of technique for making swords in Bladesong making by folding the blade into a pretzel, basically. Um, we hired him as a 3D modeler, great guy. And then there's a couple of people who spend not full time on Bladesong. We work with a lot of freelance artists, so The list of credits is long. I think it's about 20 people in the credits. But yeah, a lot of freelancer with a small core team.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And as I'm sure you guys get more social media attention and stuff, the team slowly builds, right?
I hope so. I hope so. We signed the publishing deal with Mythright last year in August, I think. Mythright, it's the people who published PC Building Simulator back in the day. So there's a little bit of parallels there, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, they all ended up working for Epic Games, or Mediatonic was bought by Epic Games, something like that, and now founded their own little indie publisher. So we're a fresh team with a fresh publisher. So we don't have to worry about getting this thing finished, at least. Like, we're not going to starve before it's done. That is great. Um, Probably we're also not going to be able to grow the team much more than what we have right now, but I don't think it's we have a good size. I have people I trust deeply, so
Yeah.
it's a good place to be.
So you mentioned playing games with your brother and stuff. Were there any games that kind of inspired you towards making Bladesong, or that you kind of put a little bit of that fun from growing up into your Bladesong inspiration?
Oh boy, it's a tough one because it's such a weird game. I have a really hard time comparing Bladesong to anything. Like, I never really played any blacksmithing simulations. Probably the games I played the most in my life are Dark Souls 1 and 3. And then, I don't know if you're familiar, the old Gothic games.
I'm
Joe,
familiar, yeah. The
yeah,
RPGs, yeah.
they're doing the remake now of Gothic
Yes,
1.
yes.
And yeah, I used to play the first two Gothic games like crazy as a kid. So there's that. One day, I wanna be inspired more by that. I think if the studio is going okay, then we're definitely going to go in a like 3D action RPG kind of direction.
Hmm.
But I didn't want to do anything like that as a first project, just because I know how much work that is. And yeah, better to start with something smaller. Bladesong turned out to be a pretty crazy project all in all too, but that's how it goes, I guess. Things balloon.
No, no, that's a great answer. And so when I play Bladesong, my always initial thing, and I think the people in my community too, is oh, the swords are so cool. Why don't any other games put something like this in? It would be so immersive. Do you have any technical ideas on why no one's gone this route?
Hmm. I mean, it is a considerable technical challenge. When I started founding my own studio, I drew up a whole list of projects and I tried to pick the one that best suits me, basically. And there's all sorts of factors that go into picking a project. And one of the factors was, does my personal experience somehow work towards completing that project? And the interesting bit about Bladesong is that it is technically, there's some pretty crazy stuff going on to make it all work the way it works. And as I said, the experience that I have from effectively building 3D tools before in a completely different environment, that tremendously helped me. I have a background in rendering things that helped me as well. And yeah, I think integrating that into another game, it certainly will be possible. Maybe we'll see more of that in the future now that we kind of set the premise that AAA studios actually have a thing they can look at and they can inspect and pick things from. I guess it's a common pattern that AAA studios don't like taking risks and rather let the indies take the risk, and then once it works out, they pick the cherries. So maybe we'll see some of that for the better, I guess. If I
Yeah,
can
no,
improve the
because
world a little.
I played a lot of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 recently,
Hmm.
Mounted Blade Bannerlord, and they have the crafting and stuff in there.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, oh man, imagine having the level of customization or something even close to what we do in Blade Song would be
Right,
so
right.
epic.
I mean, Bannerlord is pretty good in that regard, right? They have something
Yeah,
where you can
they
at
have a
least
large amount of
customize
parts,
things in it.
yeah, you can put together in that
Yeah.
game.
Still haven't played it nearly as much as I have played Warband. For some
We're
reason, it
the
didn't
same in
click.
that.
It
The
didn't
same
click
in
the
that.
same way. I cannot
Yeah.
explain why.
I agree too. I bought the original Mountain Blade from the Tail World website back.
Ooh,
I think I was in high school before
right.
Steam, and I have so many hours in that game. Bannerlord I like, but it's just something about the magic of the old one.
Yeah,
Just
I mean, maybe we're just older and have a little less
jaded,
time than.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, either jaded or just I don't know how much time you have
a
to
lot
play
less than I did
compared
back in
to,
the day.
right. It's the curse of becoming older, getting more
Yes.
responsibility. So
Yes. Now spending my time making videos about games instead of
yeah,
playing them all the time.
it's work, man. It's
It's 100%. But
fuck
it's good
Mondays.
times too. I like having a project to always be doing something.
Yeah,
Keep
that's good.
busy. So we have a playtest over on Steam right now. It's going to be active for about another week.
No, actually, only until Thursday, July
Thursday.
10th. So be quick.
All right, Thursday, July 10th, unless we convince you for a few bonus days by the end of the cast here.
Oh well.
Um, but now I've played multiple tests throughout Bladesong's existence. I think the first time I played it, it was basically just you go in and you make swords. What's different with this playtest if someone's coming back to the game?
Yeah. So last playtest was in December 2024, and now we have this one running right now. Bladesong has two modes: creative mode and story mode, campaign mode, whatever you want to call it. Um, so creative mode is just that, right? It's you have access to the full library. You have access to all the abilities that you can use to shape your blade. It's a bit confusing at first. It comes with a learning curve, but people make things in it. Um,
Insane things. Yep.
yeah, they do make insane things in it. And then there's story mode. We showed a first glimpse of story mode back in December. If anyone is listening and has played that, please come back and play it again because it's practically we've thrown it all away and revamped it. It's basically an entirely new game with a lot of new approaches and new systems. So the story mode you can try right now is the first chapter of the narrative that we want to publish into early access later this year, and it comes with a bunch of new goodies, complete new commission system with item rewards and scrap items that you can salvage for resources. Resources weren't a thing in December. Items weren't a thing in December. So basically, the entire thing has grown beyond what it was planned to be, and it's much more fun. That's the big thing.
Yeah, that's always the most important thing, fun factor, right? So, what's the main gameplay loop going to be like when we do get to completion, kind of our story mode, or like what is the process a player is going to go through while they are in the story?
Right. So the basic loop of Bladesong is always going to be in story mode. The basic loop is going to be here's a commission, see what requirements the customer has, and make a sword that fits these requirements. And the challenge that we have is taking that loop and making it as interesting as possible by making these requirements and the ways to solve them as interesting as possible. So I talked about physical requirements before. We have two kinds of them. We have basic things like a weight or a length or constraints, physical constraints. But we also have something like performance ratings, let's say. So how fast is this thing? How heavy does it hit? How easily does it cut through things? And then there's style requirements, some of them fairly easily solved, like, hey, this thing needs to be a little bit curved and it needs to have a red handle and whatever. Others maybe not so easily solved because they cost you a lot of resources that you need to get from somewhere, including some kind of special resources, at least down the line, that you need to find often in narrative or in some side endeavors. Right, but yeah, at its core, it's not so easy building a creative game that also requires things from you. So it's a fine balance to strike, and we've overshot in both ways by now. Like if I tell the player, here's your checklist of things to do, there's the danger of creativity lasting exactly as long as the checklist, right? You've done these 4 things, done, hand in. I don't care about any of the creative things. If I don't give you any, creative constraints at all, then it's every commission is the same, and every it just feels feels samey. There is little motivation to be creative because you don't have a framework to be creative in. So striking that balance is the thing that we're, you know, testing for with this playtest, and then we're trying to make the most of. And yeah, then you finish commissions, you get new stuff, you advance, you get level ups, you do the whole usual RPG loop of playing through the story, unlocking new things, finding new characters, new goodies.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Escape from Tarkov, the mechanic test
Mm-hmm.
quest, just like kind of on steroids.
Yeah,
So I don't know if
a
you
little
played
bit.
that
Yeah,
game, but yeah, people come with some very creative solutions to that. Though the problems in that game, you get some really interesting guns.
yeah. I
And
haven't
no,
played it
and I
much,
agree.
but
Yeah,
my brother is a Tarkov player,
yeah.
and he has brought it up then and again.
Yeah, and what you said 100%, like if you just make it too rigid, people just are gonna follow the checklist and turn in whatever, even if the sword looks like total garbage, just turn it
Yeah,
in because it met the requirements. And I think the best part of this game is looking at the swords after they're completed, and you can be proud of what you made. I
yeah.
I've looked in your guys' Discord, and people are
Oh,
insanely good at making these swords.
they are. They are.
Insane.
Yes, absolutely insane. By now, I'm kind of used to it, so I don't, you know, I don't get a, I don't start screaming when I open Discord. But the first or second playtest, that was rough, man. I was like, "Hey, here's the sword making game," and people are like, "Yeah, cool, I made a fish." Sir, this is not a fish making game. It's a stop breaking my beautiful game. What are you doing? But yeah, you know, we've decided to just lean into that. A lot of the community have said, a lot of people from the community have said that, you know, they expected us to patch these things and to build in constraints so you can only build swords, and that's exactly not what we did. Quite the other way around. We started introducing more and more things that make it easier to build insane stuff. And
Yeah.
then yeah, I don't know. Recently, someone has built a forklift. You know, it's just two swords on a thing with wheels at the end of the day. So Italian wedding soup. Someone made Italian wedding soup, so that's good too.
That's what's so great about these type of games, because the creativity some people have to be able to, one, have the idea to do it, and then two, navigate the restraints of the game to pull it off is absolutely nuts. Now, when I first started playing, I was basically just putting like historical swords on my other monitor and trying to copy them, and I was
Hmm.
proud of those swords. And I went into your guys' Discord with the contest, and I was like, oh man.
Oh
I'm
boy.
like, I'm cooked. I'm cooked. I got no chance here.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I mean, it's really interesting to see because some people really have their own artistic style, whether they make swords or whether they make other things. For some people, I can really point at that and I can tell you, well, this is Momo comes to mind, for example, one of our community. This is a Momo. I can tell you, like, this is a Picasso. That is super cool to see, having made a thing in which people can express themselves creatively to that extent that I can tell who the creator is by just looking at it. That is fairly nice.
and I think it's great that you left the stuff in the game, and kind of I'm always a fan of like give the players the tool and let them express themselves, kind of how they're going to express themselves. And as yeah, I've seen axes on there. I think I've seen spears. I've seen all sorts of crazy weapons, and I think it's amazing. It's a sword making game, but you can push it a little bit.
You can, yeah, indeed.
Which is awesome. So I have to ask, or I'm going to get tarred and feathered here if I don't. But timelines are always a contentious issue.
Yeah,
So we've done a lot of play tests. So people want to know when are they going to get the game like full time? Whether it's an early access version, whether it's a release version, but they're going to get access to having the game in their Steam library whenever they want.
right. So we are targeting an early access release this year still, which of course could mean anything between tomorrow and December 31st. It's not going to be tomorrow. We're going to take the feedback that we got from this playtest. We're going to work on that. I honestly can't tell you because I don't know myself what the release date is going to be. I think we're going to work with what we have. We have some technical things that we just need to get done before early access release, because playtest is all nice and dandy, but for once you release into the public, you need to ensure safe game compatibility. You need to have a proper options menu. You need to, do some wider testing on all sorts of hardware, which we thankfully have done with the playtest, but that surfaced some problems. So we just have a bit of homework to do on the technical side before we can release. But yeah, it's going to be this year. It's going to be an early access release with the full creative mode and the first 2 chapters, most likely, of story mode. And then we're going to have regular updates during early access where we push new story content, which also comes with more sword parts for the library and potentially extra things. Like, people have asked, can I make magic swords in Bladesong? Well, yes, in creative mode you can make a forklift. It's a kind of magic sword. But no, this is a thing that we're considering in the story as well, right? So we could have mechanics for actually enchanting your sword, for making elemental blades, and different commission types, and there's all sorts of things that we have vaguely planned that we will need to design and implement over the course of early access. Then always listening to what people think and where people think we should take it. But yeah, sometime later this year is gonna be an interesting year.
No, awesome. Yeah, no, I can't wait for it. I can't wait. I've really enjoyed the playtest too. As I said, there's nothing like when you get home, you're tired from a long day of work, you pop on Bladesong, pop on a Lord of the Rings movie on the other monitor, and you just kind of chill out, right? I think it's the perfect game for that stuff. And now my community, is very for the most part, violence oriented, mostly Chivalry 2 players. So whenever I
Right.
post stuff about this game, they always want to know, is there going to be anything that they can do with the swords at
Of
any
course.
time?
Of course. It's a very common question, like, what sword making game? Who can I chop up with it? Um,
Exactly.
no, it's a very valid question, and the answer is, in Bladesong, well, nobody, because we don't have the capacity to make a sword making game and a narrative RPG and a 3D fighting game. At least not today. Maybe if early access goes well and we can grow the team to triple its size, and then for 1.0 release, maybe we can have some kind of fighting arena or whatever multiplayer mode, go into the dungeon and chop up some, I don't know what, potentially. But that is a very, it's unlikely. What's more likely is that Bladesong is a general purpose. It's a game, but it's also a general purpose tool for making swords, and we're of course keeping our eyes open for opportunities to maybe get those swords out of Bladesong and maybe get them into other games, whether that's like an official bridge from Bladesong to insert your favorite game here, or whether it's just a general purpose export kind of functionality that allows modders to take the Bladesong made swords and either build a bridge into a game that is not official but still works, or just take a bunch of Bladesong made swords and mod them into other games as well. So yeah, we're exploring all these things. Currently debating whether some kind of export functionality is going to be in an early access release or not. There's some challenges around that, technical as well as well, I did highlight that quite a bit in the past whenever somebody asked about export. I told them, well, there's some legal things to consider there, because some of the materials we're using in Bladesong are not our own, so we're using them from some epic library in parts. We don't know if we can export them and then give you whatever license to take the swords with these materials on them to use in whatever way. We also don't know if we should, like, do we want to be the tool that allows you to make swords, export them, and then use them for commercial purposes, maybe even sell them on stores? Like, do we want to be that game? So there's some discussions to be had. But all that aside, I think it would be insanely cool to have Bladesong, like, make your own swords in Bladesong, 3D print them to put them on your desk, or 3D print them for cosplays, mod them into Blade and
So now
Sorcery
that's something we'll be
half
able to do,
sword, and
is possibly get our half sword, our blade song sword in our own hands.
it is in the realm of possibility. Yes.
It's in the
By now,
realm
I
of
would
that sounds
say
insane.
at least the 3D printing export is likely because that comes without materials and as such without some of the legal headaches at least. But yeah, I think by now it's likely.
It's like wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. I can only just imagine you come out, you make some of those epic community ones and put them out to print and actually
I mean, it's
walk
gonna be
around with them.
interesting. Like, can you then print a forklift? I don't know. Maybe.
If I guess if he has enough paper,
Yeah.
but
Right.
no, that's so cool. And I think that's something that I think the people who've been playing or looking into getting playing are really going to be hyped about. Is a possibility of being
Yeah.
able to do something with that blade, and you could have someone come over your house, and your sword is hanging up on the wall that you made in a video game. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty cool. The slight problem is that it's probably going to push back development timeline by a month or two because once that feature is in, I'm going to be sitting here just 3D printing everything I've ever made.
Of
in
course,
Bladesong.
your library of 1,000 swords printing out, right?
Exactly. Sorry, folks. I'm on vacation.
I'm building a medieval armory in my office right now.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Well, I think that's about all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining me, man. I appreciate you spending your time. I know we were able to get the time zones to kind of coincide where we're both awake to make this happen. So I
Yes.
appreciate you staying at work a tad longer
Oh
to
yeah,
get this
no
done.
problem. Thank you again for the invite, Strider. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. And guys, it's over on Steam. Make sure you wishlist it. Bladesong. As I said, I've really enjoyed my time with the game so far, and I'm excited to see its future. Thank
Thank
you,
you, man.
Dave.